Welcome to this retro episode of the Vital Point podcast. My name is Jonathan Schechter. I'm a transformation coach, breathwork facilitator, and host of the Vital Point podcast. First of all, thank you so much for supporting the channel. If you like the podcast, if you could subscribe to the channel, there's a lot of content here, and we're constantly putting out new episodes of the podcast, in addition to trying to get these retro episodes posted as well. So I wanted to give just a little bit of context about the episode you're about to watch, just so that there's no confusion. If you've watched any of the season 1 episodes, you'll get a much longer intro about how I came up with the podcast and why it's called One Question Wednesday on these original episodes. So check that out if you are interested. Now, season 2 was still originally called One Question Wednesday when it aired on Instagram. And season 2 begins with buying this microphone. The first season didn't have any mics. And it ended when I decided to change the name of the podcast and rebrand it from One Question Wednesday to The Vital Point. And the reason for that is pretty simple. I just started to get better at podcasting, and the conversations that I was having with the guests were starting to get longer and longer and really not follow the one question format in which we started. The other thing was, I was like, why did I decide to call it One Question Wednesday? What if I don't want to publish on Wednesday? Why did I paint myself into that corner? So yeah, there's some amazing guests in this season. We still were recording on Instagram using Instagram Live to build an audience, to build engagement. However, season 2, I also started to notice that maybe Instagram wasn't the best format for a longer podcast. And there were some technical issues on a few of the episodes, including one episode that I wasn't able to salvage for YouTube just because there were just some quality issues with what happened on the Instagram video. But nonetheless, there's some amazing guests here, some really cool topics, and really starting to get into like what the podcast was about. You know, it started to become more clear to me as I started to get better at hosting. And it's still a little rough, to be honest, in these earlier episodes, but also like what I wanted to do with the podcast. So there's, some somatic experiencing, there's some breath work, there's integration. And the episode ends with a great interview with Matt Gottesman, and then starts the tradition that I've kept up till this point of ending the season with a Q&A. And that was where it started to get more of me doing solo casts instead of just having a guest, which is how we started. So I hope you enjoy this episode that you're about to watch. I hope you are enjoying the new episodes that continue to be posted weekly here on YouTube and on all audio platforms. If you have been checking those out and then you're coming back to this retro episode, you might notice it being a little bit rough around the edges. But hey, that's how we grow. That's how we learn. And we all have to start somewhere, And if you're interested in learning more about breath work, about psychedelic integration, about how to put some of these practices into your life to transform, definitely click the link below and get my free guide to using breathwork for integration. You'll also be subscribed to my newsletter, and there's all kinds of amazing stuff on there, including news about breathwork circles online that I hold, and if you're in Tucson, events that I hold in person. So again, thank you so much for supporting the show. Thank you for supporting the channel. If you know anybody that it would enjoy these podcasts, please share it with them. And like always, the vital point is to practice. We don't get stronger by reading about push-ups. So one of my goals with the podcast is to share all these different types of practices with you so that you feel inspired to go and practice them. So hope that you enjoy this. Our guest is Alex Suk, Breathing Cold Bali. I have been following Alex's account pretty much since I got interested in breathwork because my sort of my doorway into breathwork was doing cold exposure. So I think that's probably what I noticed first. And as my interest grew and I started learning more about breathwork, of course, your account was there as well, just giving amazing pictures of your practice in Bali, and just so glad that you're here with us today, Alex.
Thank you. I can feel that. Thank you, Jonathan, for your words.
Yeah. So, Alex, you have some facilitator training program starting soon, right?
Yes, I realize that this is the most interesting work for me. So I call it facilitator program, but the truth is my intention is to create a really in-depth experience. And I've always been frustrated by the lengths of, a 4-hour workshop, a 1-day workshop, a 3-day workshop, a 1-week retreat. And now it's 3 weeks in person and online, and then 6 months overall where we follow up. And that allows me to have space to really do deep work with whoever is joining. I would say half are joining for personal reason and personal desire for transformation. And along the way, they feel called to offer this work and become facilitators, because as you know, once you are tapping into the magic of those modalities, you can't help but being called to share this, because there is something powerful and wonderful about all this.
Yeah, absolutely. I was actually just talking about that with my partner the other day about, like sometimes before we start like some sort of big transformation, we want to feel like, I need to be ready. I need to be ready before I start this. But oftentimes what I've found is that it's the process itself that actually gives you what you need, that makes you ready. It's actually starting. And that's where you like learn the things that you need to know, that the things that are keeping you stuck is by actually like just jumping into whatever program it is and going for it. So I totally agree with you.
You point something very important, and people can research it. It's the role of dopamine in our lives. And dopamine is really that hormone of craving. And we're always wanting more, more, more. And most of us have some kind of relation to dopamine, whether we work all the time or we just seek pleasure all the time. And they say that some people can afford the beach house and others can enjoy the beach house. But if we want to be happy, we need to acknowledge whether we are led by dopamine or if we are able to tap into oxytocin and more sustainable in the now and in the present hormones. And that's something that a lot of people are, not being able to manage easily. And the culture of social media and instantly of always switching just reinforce that it's okay to be in this constant dopamine rush life. So really, really fair point that you mentioned there. And yes, of course, breath is the answer. So, and it's really about connecting mind and body. And the breath, you can take any school of thoughts, Qigong, Tai Chi, yoga, it's meditation. The breath is always the common denominator. So really having a fine understanding of what is the mechanic of prana, what is the mechanic of this energy moving through the body. Once you have that and the knowledge, when the mind is happy, you get the understanding of what's going on, and then you get to experience for yourself and to feel your emotions that are stuck in the body. And then all of a sudden, you create that unity between the mind and the body through the breath. And it's easy. It's not rocket science. When we have these discussions, it's always hit home with everyone because it feels right. It feels like, yes, it is true. It is true to each of us because it's going back to our innate truth. There is nothing that I need to convince you about. It just feels right. And but when we talk about all these modalities, it always feels right. And the way we live our lives, the way we are conducting ourselves doesn't feel right because it's done from a place of frustration, resentment, fear, anger, which is fed by government, which is fed by society, by culture, by parents who did it from love, but So when we are able to clear the noise and the mess that we live in and have the access to the source, our true self, then things flow and life is wonderful and it's beautiful and there is just beauty and love. But you need to clear the ego, you need to clear the, the muscular tensions that are always there. You need to clear the negative thought patterns that have been imprinted by society and families. So when you have access to that, then you tap into your true self, and then you can know yourself.
Absolutely. And there's no better teachers for being present than the cold and with your breath. I mean, it's impossible to be somewhere else, to be distracted when you're in an ice bath. You literally have no other choice than just to be there with your breath and be present and just experience this wonderful sensation of like, wow, I'm so much more powerful than I thought I was. My mind was telling me, oh, don't do this today. You don't need to do this. You can do it tomorrow, or, this is silly. Why are you doing this again? And then as soon as you're there and you let go and just breathe into it, it's just pure presence.
The beauty of the breath and the ice, they are tools, because we've got a concept. Okay, how do I create integration between body, mind, spirit? And intellectually we can make sense of it. But the secret is daily practice. If we all in each of us reflect on why we're good at what we're good at, whatever that is, it's not talent, it's not genius, it's just hard work. So having a daily practice of embracing fear, of embracing discomfort, of feeling the resistance, and then having those tools, I call them, and it's from Dr. Mark Cohen, forced mindfulness. You get into an ice bath, you don't have a choice. I don't care about your mind anymore. Right. You get there, and then you consciously traumatize yourself. You consciously say, I'm going to get through a trauma in 5 seconds. And then if I push too long in the ice bath and I come out and my body temperature drops, I'm going to have a near-death experience. I'm going to go be close to hypothermia. My body starts shivering and it says, I'm not safe in my body anymore. And this is disassociation. I feel, oh my God, I'm not okay anymore. And learning consciously to experience these moments where I am not connected to myself, and having that ability to reconnect deeply is wonderful. Most people that have experienced an involuntary or near-death experience will tell you it's a life-changing moment. It says, oh my God, now all of a sudden I was able to do that. But the ice bath is a tool that gets you to do that consciously. And that's why it's so groundbreaking. So it's really not about being super strong and, right, alpha male approach to it. It's more about, can I be vulnerable? Can I experience trauma in a safe environment? Can I reclaim my body? Can I be safe in my body again? Can I learn to be okay, to not be okay?
Yeah.
And that's something that we are not taught to do, because your parents told you, don't be sad, don't get angry, be a good boy, etc., etc. So you're not taught that it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to feel my emotions. So having this practice forcefully to go through that, it's incredible. It's incredible. Yeah. And it's free. And we all have access to it. Your breath is always there for you.
Right.
Yeah. And so, yeah, that's what it's all about.
Awesome. Well, now that we've had a couple minutes to let people join, I wanted to get into our one question. And for those of you in the audience, if you have a question for Alex, please type it into the chat so that we can get to that as well. My one question for you today, Alex, is how do you work with clients that come to you with trauma? When we were talking about setting up this episode, you mentioned that was something that you really wanted to discuss, and it's definitely an interest of mine as well. So, can you tell us a little bit about, how you work with that in your practice?
Thank you. Yes. We are all full of trauma. We are all results of traumas. That's all we are. And trauma is not a rape or a physical abuse only.
Right.
A trauma is a moment and a set of experiences that you were not able to consciously process. So you couldn't escape a situation, you could fight the situation, so you disassociated at one stage. You were not in your body anymore. And those traumas are stored in the body at a molecular level, in the muscle memory. So all of a sudden, we have disease in the body that are stored. It would be pain somewhere, anything that is in manifestation in the body. You have constant headaches, you have ear issues, you've got anything. And you cannot think your way through it. You cannot solve the problems with the tool that created the problems. You need to have another perspective, and that's where the body comes in. So you need to do the body work in order to release those traumas. So breath work, basically what it does with the connected breath, is the idea of having the breath back in the body. Breath is energy. And when you are dissociating, when you're scared, you hold your breath. You're not breathing anymore. So every time when we feel, people who have some breathing patterns, I always observe how people breathe because they tell me everything about what's going on. And every time they don't allow the breath to move freely in the body, then somehow there is some kind of a trauma that is stored there. So allowing the breath to come back in the body creates space. And all of a sudden we shake. So first we dance, we move, because we need to release tensions. We need to shake it. We have a lot of things going on in the hands and energy points in the hands, Qigong, Tai Chi, there's a whole culture of, feeling energy. Same with the feet. So having a lot of movements, getting back in the body, then doing some breath. And I teach a daily practice because I believe in that more than in trauma release. So I believe in softly releasing traumas through self-empowerment rather than relying on a facilitator. And I could talk at length. I think we're limited in time, so I want to move to the eyes. But the breath is a huge part of it. And then we go into the eyes. And what's really wonderful in the eyes is it gets you into that trauma state right away. When you get in, you feel like you need to get out. And that's something that you experience over and over, no matter how many times you do it.
Right.
And in the Wim Hof method, they say just take control. I like to take the few seconds in the eyes where I don't take control, where I actually I've created space and I let it out. So people are always amazed when I facilitate and I demonstrate an ice bath. And I have an outfit of Superman. And I dress like Superman. And I say, I show you how to get an ice bath. And I get in the ice and I start screaming and I start crying. And then they had an idea of what is Superman. Superman is a guy in control of his emotions, who's not feeling anything. That's, the guy who's not letting anything come. But that's bullshit of our society. For me, Superman is a guy who's close to his emotions, as allowing everything out. So I reframe the story of Superman now. And so I get them to let go first. Then they take control of their emotions. They stay until they don't need to go. So they allow the trigger and to process the trigger. I want them to feel what's there, what's underneath the emotional resistance. And some people will want to get out. And that means you don't want to face your problems. It has nothing to do with the eyes. If you don't want to face your trigger, you want to escape. That's okay. You're not ready. You're not there yet. It's no judgment. So, and what I do, and I can do it safely in Bali because it's hot, I get them to stay an edge in the ice, not to stay in the comfort zone of, like, let's say 2 minutes but I want them to come out, and with the after drop effect, their body temperature is going to drop and they're not going to be safe in their body anymore. And that's a really, really scary place and a scary moment because you feel, what if I cannot heat up my body again? How can I stop? Because if you go at 32 degrees, your body will get you into a coma state. So this is not okay. And you're going to do everything to get out of this situation. But what I allow people, again, in a safe moment, to actually, instead of trying to stop the vibration of the body and the shivering to heat up the body, to enhance it, to shake it, to lean into it. Because how do animals release trauma is through shaking.
Right.
We do it also in our culture, but we get drunk and we go to a club and we dance on Saturday night. Or we go to Zumba. So we have those innate knowledge that, or we have unconscious sex. So it's somehow shaking is a way to release tensions. But if you do it consciously and you learn to do it consciously and to be with it, then all of a sudden, you are now training yourself to face potentially traumatic situations, but to already and immediately release them. So the next time you're going to face a situation, I know what it feels like because I did it this morning in the ice. I feel the urge to get out, to disassociate, to get out of my body because I'm not safe. And I can And now my body has the memory of it, and I can go back in my body and feel safe again. And this process is incredible because it's not so much about remembering the trauma. It's about educating the body that you are safe in your body and it's okay to be in your body. And that helps people with PTSD, with any mental disorder, to actually reclaim ownership of their body. And it's life transforming. It's life transforming. And you don't need me. You don't need a facilitator. You need to learn it, to experience it. But then you have a cold shower. You know, we all have a cold shower at home. Stay longer in a cold shower. Stay to the point of you're not okay. Do it safely with, you know, hot drinks and hot clothes so you can, you know, warm up in case you edge too much. But getting in that place where, hey, what if I edge a little bit is really, 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 really wonderful. I have to say, you need to do it if your immune system is strong, because the ice will put pressure on your immune system. So if you feel weak and vulnerable and a bit compromised on your immune system, you're going to get sick. So but if you're strong, it's going to boost it and reinforce it. So we say with the ice, you need to go slowly, you need to go progressively, and you need to learn to know yourself and where you're at. So some days, I don't want to get in the ice. Some days I want to get in the ice. So you learn to listen to not the fear, not the resistance from the mind, but trust and what's going on in the body and lean into it. And it's I cannot say other words. It's really life transforming. And in this time where we are now not trusting anyone anymore, we don't trust the religions, we don't trust governments, we don't trust science. I think it's a wonderful thing because we finally get to realize that we have to trust ourselves, and that's all we can do. And I think it's exactly what we needed.
Yeah, I really resonate with the self-empowerment part of what you're talking about, and it just sounds like you're giving people so many different resources to be empowered to work with themselves and to like look at these deep dark parts of ourselves that we've disowned, that we've tried to hide away either by not thinking about them or, you know, self-soothing with drugs, with alcohol. You know, you mentioned sex. You know, maybe scrolling on Instagram, or, you know, there's a million ways that we do it, right? But these are all ways of like disempowering ourselves and moving away from feeling. And what these modalities do is give us the resources and the safety to actually feel them. So I love that you know, it sounds like you're taking people on quite a journey where you're starting them off with like, hey, let's dance, let's move, let's start to stir things up, you know, and then the breath work is like, okay, let's get into it even more. And then in the ice, you know, you're confronted with it. And then I actually am really intrigued by your method in terms of what, you know, kind of edging it and then letting the after drop happen. It's definitely something I'm going to try myself, because usually, yeah, I stay in for, you know, 3 or 4 minutes, and that's not really enough to get to that edging point for me, you know, just with my own practice. So I am curious to try that.
Just make sure you've got safety in place. Just
right.
Have someone to help. So if you do it in nature, you don't do it alone. If you are in the ice, someone is not in the ice, you need to be careful. A few things on what you said. We constantly look for someone to save us. And, you know, whether it's a doctor, a partner, a government, and the key of empowering people is it's the only way it can work. Unless you take full responsibility and you take care of yourself and you do it for yourself and you don't let someone else do it, you're not going to get it. It's not going to work. So the empowerment is almost, for me, the only way to go about it. It's not that I choose that avenue. I don't believe in the other avenues. I don't believe that, you know, if I hang out on my therapist, I hang out on my pills or whatever it is, it's just focusing on the symptoms, not going to the root cause. But if I have the tools that I can, whenever I'm triggered in my everyday life, do the work with the tools that I have been equipped with, then I can do it. But if I constantly wait for that session where I can process, or that moment, no, you need to deal with it when you're triggered.
Right.
And if you're triggered in the supermarket and you can release in the supermarket and move in the supermarket, that's wonderful. you know? So having that ability to be in your body and not in your mind, it's what it's all about, like embodied practices. And once you have that, it's from Wim Hof, this quote, I'm not sure it's even from him, but it's, all this is easy, but it's not simple.
Right.
You know? It's nothing complicated, but it's the application of it. It's the daily routine. It's actually doing it that it's all about. And finally, I want to say that the key marker to health, if you want to know if someone is healthy, is joy. And I think that this is also something that we don't focus enough on, is this person joyful? Because if you're joyful, then it means the body is happy, the mind is happy, the mind is at peace. But it has nothing to do with other markers. And now we're focused on, do you have the right vaccine? And do you stay at home? And what insanity, you know, if you stay at home, you're not going to move, and you're not going to mix, and you're not going to have social connection. And now the science of health is pretty clear, you know, it's really joy. And the tool that can get you to experience joy are the ones that are going to be happy. There is direct connection between your emotions and the impact on your health. So yeah, hopefully people are going to be forced to do this work, because they will lose other directions that they were getting in their lives. Again, trusting science, trusting the doctors, trusting the governments, trusting religions, trusting politics, economics. All this is completely destroyed now. And that's a wonderful thing. It needs to get worse before it gets better.
Yeah, that's kind of how life is, right? Yeah, things get worse before they get better. Yeah, and I really do resonate with what you just said in terms of joy being a marker for happiness. And it's so it's just a great example of how we create our perspective, right? Like one, you know, you can get in your car and somebody cuts you off, and it's not the same every day, and it's not the same for every person. So if we were having an objective experience, everybody would get the same amount of anger this every time, and so would I. But you know, some days I get in my car, and if somebody cuts me off, it makes me kind of annoyed, and some days I just kind of laugh about it. So that's a good indication that, you know, we're creating our own experience and our own with our own perspective, you know, and our own emotional and state of our body. So yeah, you know, having these daily practices is the key to improving those, you know, just to that joy, to that peace, to not being triggered, you know, definitely building up our mental and emotional resilience so that, you know, things can just roll off of our back instead of triggering us.
What you just said is absolutely groundbreaking. This is so important. One of the key moments in my life was an interview that I watched, I think I was 14, it was Richard Branson. And he was with two hot blonde girls on a super yacht being interviewed, and he was laughing all the time. And the interviewer said, come on, it's easy to be happy, because look, you've got the yacht, you've got the private island, you've got the girls, it's easy. Of course you're happy. And he replied, and that stayed with me till today, you've got it all wrong. It's the other way around. It's because I'm happy that I've got the girls. It's because I'm happy that I've got the island and the yacht. And that's really what it's all about. It's about you creating your reality, you defining your personality. And that's Joe Dispenza, your personality now creates your personal reality. So when I do this morning routine and I finish and I say, today's the best day of my life, and I scream it and I feel it and I breathe it, I step into the world centered, connected. I have created a vibration of my future self, of the vision I have of myself. And now I don't let my environment define how I feel. Most people are defined by their environment. Rich people make rich kids. Poor people make poor kids. We all reproduce things. Why is she sad? Or she lost her kid 20 years ago. So if you expect, maybe you got lucky and you're going to be happy. Maybe you not get unlucky and you're going to be sad and have a miserable life. That's a risky business. But if you realize that the opposite is also true, and you can craft who you are and your personality, you realize that once you put that energy in the world, it comes back to you. We all know it. If someone is joyful, you're going to invite him to the party. Or let's have him around. He's a nice guy you want at the table. because he makes a lot of jokes. He's a kind of vibration you want around you. And someone who's heavy, you don't want to do business with them. You don't want to buy from them. So if you acknowledge that, then all of a sudden you have those tools, breath work, ice bath, meditation, and you can go on, Tai Chi, Qigong, anything that gets you to center yourself, to start and create that vision of yourself and vibrate that in the world. If you do that, then you don't have to worry about anything. Everything comes to you. Nothing is a problem. Money, love, whatever it is, it's just a manifestation of the same thing. And it is easy. It's not simple, but it's easy.
Yeah, easy, not simple.
Or the other way around, but it's you
simple,
get the idea.
easy.
Like we understand it, it
Right.
makes sense.
Yeah,
The difference and the delta is a daily practice.
yeah,
That's it. Hard work. Life is hard work. Okay, make it, work at dealing with my emotions. Okay, fear, resentment, anger, frustration, all these things that are part of my imprint because I inherited them from my parents out of love. You know,
right.
they did it out of love, but that's part of my imprint. But we are all wonderful, human, kind people within us. There is no evil. You know, someone who's abusing people, it's out of a false expression of love that they inherited from their parents who were unresolved in their issues. And that's it. And once you are able to just be aware of it, have consciousness of it, then you can catch yourself and be compassionate about it. Hey, this is where I am, and that's absolutely okay. So it's an ongoing journey.
Yeah, you know, so I do want to respect your time here, Alex. I know it's 8 o'clock in the morning for you, so I'm not sure what else you've got going on. But I love what you just said about, you know, everything being in the moment, right? When we're dealing with those fears, the negative emotions, all we have to do is just focus on the moment, the present, right? We don't have to worry about our whole life. You know, all we have to do is focus on what's happening right now in my body. And that's what these practices are doing too, is just getting us back into our body, getting us present, getting us centered so that we can express whatever emotions are happening in this present moment. So it's, you know, I think some people get so overwhelmed, especially in the beginning of like, well, I've been living with depression my whole life, or I've been living with this chronic pain or whatever it is. But you don't have to worry about the whole rest of your life. All you have to do is worry about this breath right now, you know, and then the next breath, and things will take care of themselves in that simple, you know, not easy, but simple way that we've been talking about.
Yeah, depression is complete lack of emotion, is complete suppressing of it all. And the key is that it's not being happy all the time. It's just being true to whatever emotion is there, as you said.
Yeah.
So sadness, anger, it's all there. It's okay if you want, but move it. Dance to anger, dance to sadness, dance to resentment, dance to frustration. It's okay.
Yeah.
But what is not okay is to just let it inside. And with, you know, again, society, I deal with my problems. I don't need to bother you with that. You know, we don't need, you know, it's not okay. And when kids are making a tantrum, come on, stop it. Don't do this in public.
Right.
And it can go on with every topic. Sexual energy. Sexual energy is taboo. No, it's not. It's not okay to have sexual energy. You know, this is to keep in the bedroom. So people are frustrated, pornography, emotional and sexual abuse, pedophilia with kids, and priests, and all those stories. It all comes from not honoring our true self and allowing the society to define who I am. Of course, it doesn't work. I am an animal. At a physiological level, I haven't changed from when I was a caveman. There's nothing different. But I'm not allowed to operate the same way I was as a caveman. I don't eat the same way as a caveman. So we're focused on what we eat, but not how to eat and when to eat, which is what was the main focus on the caveman. He was eating what was available to him, but he was eating a lot, and then he was resting until there was food again available. And then he was really enjoying his meal. He was resting. Now you grab a coffee, you grab a bagel, and you're in sympathetic as you're eating. Of course, you're not going to digest your food. Yeah. And you have all these processed. No, eat food, not processed chemicals. So you can apply all these principles to every aspect of life. It's always the same story. You are an animal. Understand, honor it, be with that animal, function like an animal, and have the filters of the mind. We live in society, so it doesn't mean you do crazy things, but have the filter of the mind as an assistant of the body, not the other way around. But it's really, there are two sides of the coin, but there is not duality. It's the one side is not the coin, the other side is not the coin. You've got both sides to make a coin, and most people are just stuck in their head. It says, okay, it's my mind. But the truth is you are guided by your emotions. So that's where the work is. And yeah, I have now, if you guys are interested, I have a facilitator training starting Monday. We have a call in half an hour with the people who are about to start this journey. I think some of you are in the live right now. And so yeah, anyone interested in jumping last minute, it's an incredible journey of self-mastery and of being of service of others and creating transformation for everyone you encounter, your kids, your partner, people you work with, Mother Earth. It's all relationship. There is no difference between how you have an imprint in the world or you have an imprint on your partners, on the kids. And when you see that, you witness that, then you just become an integrated being that is just flowing in its truth, not disassociated in different boxes. So yeah, but I'm really grateful to have that opportunity. I love doing these little moments, show you my little story. We're here in Bali in my house.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that was a great segue into kind of wrapping up. So Alex, I really appreciate your time and what a wonderful conversation. I feel like we could keep talking about these topics for quite a while. So just again, if people are interested in learning more about you and your program, where should they go?
So 3wbreathingcoldbali.com. For now, I really focus on these 3 weeks intensive integration. And the reason is, if you want to go deep, you need to be vulnerable. You need to be tired. You need to do the work. But if every time you go back into your cave, you go back into your habits and your comfort zone, we're not going to get there. So I need to get in there. And breathwork, ice baths, and the third pillar is authentic relating, is absolutely wonderful because it's embodied practice and then bringing back through connection. This is, why AA is happening in groups. Healing is in communities. Getting you to bring it back to consciousness through the support of compassionate inquiry and things like that with the group. Working on a documentary, a book, online courses, a lot of that coming. So yeah, I have a WhatsApp group. So through my Instagram, people can join. I post quite a lot of cool things that I find online of other incredible people because I'm not inventing anything. This is all, common sense and knowledge that is out there that has been used by tons of incredible people before us. We just, spit out a variation of the same story, And what's interesting is the science now is catching up on a lot of things. Like, a guy got a Nobel Prize, or 3 guys for Nobel Prize on oxygen research in 2019 and the power of reducing your oxygen level. But these things were known by the yogis and for generations. And you go to the pyramids in Egypt and you see things about, human design that has always been there and things like that. And we're just, catching up now. So there is something a bit, and that's the link to spirituality. There is things that we have to acknowledge that we just can't make sense of. And we have to acknowledge that it's part of our world. It's part of our life, is not to always make sense of it all and understand that there is something that is beyond body and mind, whether it's spirit or soul and when you tap into that, wow, it's like opening up a new portal. And it's a fun place to be.
Yeah. Awesome. Well said. Yeah. I think it just ties into what we started with, which is that things have to get better or worse before they get better, right? So now we're able to return to all this wonderful knowledge that's always been under our nose, like the breath.
You can always say, is the situation good or is the situation bad? But the situation is what it is.
Right.
Is COVID a good thing or a bad thing? It is what it is. Right. It's your relation to it that matters. Do I see it as a good thing or do I see it as a bad thing? But it's a conscious choice. that you make. And you can do it with absolutely every situation. You can say, oh, yeah. And again, I refer to this, one of my mentors, Mark Cohen, and he's got written beautiful words of poetry and kids' book all around those topics. So I think we need to reach kids and get them educated with these modalities, because the change comes from within. I don't believe in the COP. I don't believe in the governments making the right decisions. I believe in empowering people to tap into their true self, and then being kind and honoring their true nature.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much, and good luck with your training program, and get your Superman costume ready.
Yeah,
that sounds like a
let's
blast.
be superhumans. All right, thank you so much for the opportunity, and well done for these initiatives, and that's a wonderful thing to do, and I'm feeling very honored that you reached out to me, so thank you so much.
Pleasure's all mine, Alex. Really appreciate your time. Have a great day.
All right.
All right.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Love and peace.